Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Equipping Hour this morning. Also, just welcome to Missions Month. So I know you've heard probably in the past few weeks, but this year we decided to try a missions month rather than just a missions conference. So we're going to just have the privilege of hearing from our missionaries and organizations that we support as a church pretty much every week for the month of February. So this morning, we're going to be hearing from MATA. So as you can see on the screen, Mission Aviation Training Academy. And it's just a wonderful ministry. So I got the chance to go yesterday to the open house. I don't know if many people got to do that or not, but if you didn't, you definitely missed out. It was very, very neat time to just see the mission organization in person and see what they actually do and what they're about a bit more. But if you did miss it, you're going to have the privilege of hearing from Gary Elliott this morning about it. And welcome to everyone on the live stream for this, and hope you all enjoy it. So at this time, I'll go ahead and call up Gary Elliott to tell us about the ministry.
Thank you. I think I'm going to stand down here so I'm not blocking the screen. Maybe we'll just open in prayer. Heavenly Father, we're just thankful for that you are the Lord of all, the King of kings, and the Creator, and Sustainer, and Provider. And we just think of the emphasis this month on Mission Church, First Baptist Church, and so many missionaries supported, and so many different mission organizations supported. It's just exciting to be a part of a congregation like this. Lord, we just ask your blessing on the time today and the rest of Sundays this month, as so many will be given the reports, and it's always good to hear and to see what's going on around the world. And so just trust that this will be a blessing for all, and maybe a motivation and a call to action. And so just bless our time, Lord. In Jesus' good name, amen. So, yeah, as Rob said, we had the open house yesterday, and I was really thrilled about the turnout. We just didn't know. Alex said, I don't know, but it was really good. Saw the pastor and his family, and a lot of the elders and people on the missions committee, and it was really a great turnout. Ritter's Box, old missionaries, over there. So, it was, a great turnout. So, if you did miss it, like Rob said, we'll try to, maybe you'll pick up some of what's going on here. So, we're going to have to point this to make it work. It worked before. It's got a green. The screen. Where's the? It's got a green light. Yeah. Do I point at the computer back there or at? It's not. Can you guys just flip it on cue then, or let's go to the next slide if you can do it from there. We just want to click the button. So I could tap dance for a while until we get this sort of soft shoe or tap or something. I don't know. I won't sing a solo. So there we go. So, hey, we're located right here at Arlington Municipal Airport. So if you've never seen it from the air, this is kind of looking to the north to our main runway, 172nd running across kind of toward the bottom. And the town of Arlington up to the top right corner. Next slide. So there's our hangar for those of you who weren't there. Next slide, some of the airplanes. And let's see if this will work now. Okay, so what we're about is trying to help spread the gospel farther and faster around the world using aviation. And so there's a big mission organization called Mission Aviation Fellowship is the biggest. They've got the most airplanes, the most pilots, and so we're trying to train our guys to be able to qualify to go with MAF or some smaller ones. So we've got one of our graduates just last summer went over to New Guinea. He's with a mission that has 2 airplanes, and he's one of the 2 pilots. So the big and the small, we try to prepare our guys to be able to go and serve with these organizations. So MAF, again, is the biggest one, most pilots, most planes, most countries around the world. And this is just their look from 2022. It looks like served in 12 countries. You know, well, you can read there at the bottom. Normally they tell you how many tons of cargo that they moved. You don't see that this time, but 52,000, almost 53,000 passengers. So it's the big one. Our values, we really try to emphasize not just the technical skills of flying an airplane and landing and moving cargo and people and all that, but just really try to work with our students and mentor them, disciple them. And so that's a big part of what we're doing. We have a Bible study every Friday night. I want to talk a little bit about overcoming barriers to transportation. We've got some slides to kind of give you an idea what we mean when we say using airplanes to overcome the barriers. So mountains. So geographical, physical barriers to getting around when you get out of the big city and out into the hinterland, or as we say in the Philippines, the boondocks. Our English word came from the Tagalog bundok. So this is the boondok in the Philippines. Rivers with no bridges to get across, somewhere down in tributary of the Amazon, I think. Deserts, swamps. So these are physical, geographical barriers to move around, for missionaries to get in and out of their locations where they're trying to share the gospel. So what's the alternative to having your missionaries walking through the jungle and fording the river with their small children and trying to carry cargo and all this airplane? Now, what if you've got a good road in your country that you're serving, and so here's a nice paved road, and maybe that's what public transportation looks like. So do you want you and your family, traveling like that? Or suppose you're a doctor that's come over and your team of nurses to serve or whatever. Is this the way you want to travel? So the mountain roads, not paved mudslides. One of our missionaries in the Philippines, one of their kids was trapped in a mudslide on the mountain trying to go down to Manila. Interesting. These guys almost lost their vehicle. These guys did lose their vehicle. I think this is in Africa. So just try to give you an idea of what, countries without a good infrastructure, roads. In the Philippines, ferries, there's lots of islands and ferries between the islands, and every once in a while one of those would capsize and sink, and you'd have hundreds of people lost. So this is, it's hard to imagine, if you drove here on a paved road, backed out of your paved driveway onto a paved city street and got on a county road or, the interstate or whatever. It's just hard to imagine. So here's a different kind of barrier. So a lot of developing nations are having civil wars, guerrillas, revolution, whatever. And so you've got, military or guerrilla checkpoints. There's one in Africa. Is this the way you want to travel with your family, even if there is a road? And so these kind of obstacles here, political boundaries, borders, going across. Our old director Gordon said he had an AK-47 stuck in his face one time at a checkpoint with a drunk guard. Is that the way you want it? And then you got just basically the snatch and grab, the purse or necklace or whatever, and the kidnap for ransom kind of stuff. So all that stuff going around. Is that the way you want to travel or have your people travel? So that's the kind of barriers that we're talking about. Some geographic, some political. So back to what we're trying to do here is empower our students to serve. The aviation-related skills, of course, is a big part of it, but not all of it. So try to mentor them, disciple them, have them grow. Some are fairly new believers that have got the bug for missions, and it's like you're just trying to help develop them as believers, as you train them. And we really, value our relationship with sending churches, First Baptist, others that have come from across the country to train with us. They've got their home church back home, and try to keep in contact with them and let them know how their missionary candidate is progressing through the training as they get more certificates and ratings and everything. So cooperating with other missions. Trying to be good neighbors at the airport, our community at the airport, trying to be good neighbors and different activities going on at the airport. So flight training, to kind of get to the little of the technical stuff. We need good instructors, good airplanes, the instructors using standardized curricula and operational procedures, and classroom space. So these are things we need, there at MATA, and those of you who came and saw yesterday, we feel like we're in pretty good shape to provide the training. Some of you saw the big screen, the big six-screen display with the internet and the weather and maps and all that. So the instructors, okay, I got to start out here, yeah. But remember, the first will be last, right, Gary? So, but I'm probably the most field experienced guy there right now. Vic Santi flew for Mission Aviation Fellowship before he became an airline pilot. So he's a retired Alaska airline captain, very experienced. Jeremy Kroll served probably about 12 years, I think, up in Alaska, and has just come and joined our staff. His father was the founder of MATA, and so he was an early student back late 1900s, 1998 or 2000, back in that time frame. Derry Fink. Derry was an MK from Senegal, so he grew up seeing the need for mission aviation. He says, my mission didn't have airplanes, and my dad and I would drive for 14 hours out through the bush to get to a village, and we saw the New Tribes guys jump in their plane and fly in an hour or something. So Derry's flown quite a bit in Alaska. So we've got Scott Quist is our chairman of the board. Actually, he was an Alaska trooper, just retired as an Alaska trooper. 20-some years up there. He flies helicopters in addition to fixed-wing airplanes. He's flown on floats off the lakes and rivers up there, skis in the snow. Very experienced guy. So he still lives up in Alaska, but we've had some guys go up there and get some specialized training with him up there. And he came down, this is at our summer camp last summer. Scott came down and instructed for us. Don Belfils is our newest guy, gaining experience and doing a really good job. You're going to see these guys here later on, Matt and Abby McWhorter. They're both pilot mechanics, and Abby's an instructor, so Matt's not an instructor yet, but they came down and did some training with us and kind of standardization, getting familiar with our standard procedures, and then we let them take one of our planes to Alaska. So they had some people up there that needed to do training up there, and we were thinking about having them come down. It just was going to be easier to let them stay in Alaska and send Abby and Matt up with one of our planes. So you saw the fleet if you were there at the hangar. This is part of the fleet. The bottom right corner, that's the, we would say a simulator, but technically it's not a simulator by FAA definition. Simulators got to be able to move, and they cost millions of dollars, and in a big room, and they can go up and down and sideways and really make you feel like you're flying. But we've got some other airplanes. Those of you who were there yesterday saw some that have been donated that we don't even have on our website yet. And so the mechanics, our maintenance guys have been working hard to get all these planes. You get somebody donated a plane and you don't know exactly what kind of shape it's in, so they start going into it and tearing it apart and fix what needs to be fixed and put it back together. So we're kind of in that stage with a couple of our planes right now. Classroom space. And some of you saw yesterday the students have their own little room upstairs like the instructors, and they can go up and study and spread their stuff out. We got a big desk. They can basically have some private study area. So to go on with, we talked about that, developing spiritually, having a servant heart. And we have a Bible study every Friday night. I mentioned put a meal on, the gals prepare a meal, and then we have Bible study afterward. So sometimes you might have 30 people. Students bring a friend or somebody, And Missions Fest Seattle, you're familiar with that, I'm sure. And so this is another way we can expose our students to different ministries. Go to Missions Fest and see maybe 90 different missions that are doing work all around the world, all sorts of different work. Some are, drilling wells for clean water, and some are medical, doctors and nurses, and on and on. Some are just doing, pure evangelization. Of course, Wycliffe Bible translators translating the Bible, all these different kind of mission work and different agencies. And so we're trying to expose our students to what's going on in the missions world. And of course, they're drawn to the aviation ministries, and we want them to know these different organizations. There's probably about 100 different mission organizations that are using airplanes, and so we want them to get to know the Mission Aviation Fellowship. Wycliffe Bible Translators have their own aviation branch, New Tribes Mission, or Ethnos 360, I should say now, and others that have using airplanes in their ministry. So they all are doing different missions, and they all have a different kind of a flavor, and so we want our students to be able to know the different organizations, how they're working, what airplanes they're flying, what parts of the world they're working in, and just to try to be a good fit. You want to be a good fit for the organization and for the individual missionary. This is the big thing, is that after the training here, to get to field service. So some of the big schools, like over in Spokane, Moody Aviation over there, trains more people than we do. But amazingly enough, a lot of those guys then wind up going to the airlines or something. And a lot of it is they're shackled by debt. So they might go through the Moody program. It's a really good program. You get your Bible training, your mechanics certificates, get some mechanic training in their shops, get your pilot licenses and everything. And then you owe them $120,000. And so how do you overcome that before you can go to the field? So we try to minimize that. We have some donors that are really just trying to help students. Sometimes we've got students that are working part-time, trying to pay for their training. Sometimes we get some scholarship money from donors just to help somebody either get them started or get them finished. We've had guys, just kind of, I just ran out of money right before my check ride, and to do the check ride with the FA, cost usually about $650. So just something like that. So, okay, here's some money to help you finish off that rating or that certificate. And of course, we're trying to get them with their home church to be supported by their home church. Talk to your missions committee, talk to your missions pastors, make sure that they know what track you're on, that you're trying to become a missionary overseas, and try to get them supporting you early. Prayer support, some might say, well, you need the finances to get to the field, and you need the prayer to keep you on the field. Living in these foreign cultures, cross-cultural, in some developing countries that you don't have all the conveniences of home, and life can be challenging, just the daily life, and so all the frustrations that come along with life, right? So in a foreign context, and so prayer support is really important too. So the point of all this then is to reach the unreached people groups. These people need to hear the gospel, and a lot of them are living in very remote areas. You can't get there from here, without an airplane. So here's like a modern day Paul out there in the jungle in a village, preaching. These guys need the air support to be able to be there and be ministering. And the point, again, to share the gospel and have people respond to the gospel, understand it in their language, and be able to make a decision and respond. So if I told you two of these guys here, one of them is a believer and one is not, is it a problem to pick out who has the gospel light, the light of Christ in his life? Is it kind of a no-brainer? Tell the other guy that's bound in spiritism and trying to appease the spirits, the fear, the bondage, and that's what it ultimately is about. So all the work we're doing is to try to support the missionaries that are taking the gospel. So we're talking about training here. So this is Payne Field, their main runway, 9,000 feet long, 150 feet wide. And so people that train at an airport like that, at a flight school that has a facility like that, it's got a control tower, and So that's what they're used to, 9,000 foot by 150 foot. Now at Arlington, our main runway is 5,300 feet long and 100 feet wide. And so it's a nice, safe length. It's a good place to start training. And we've got a shorter runway this is looking down runway 29 on the kind of in the middle of the screen. It's 3,500 feet long and 75 feet wide. So we can start out, training in a nice, safe, long, wide runway, and then just start progressing as, they get their certificates and ratings and their skills and start working them into thinking about what's it going to look like overseas. Right beside the runway here, if I can do my laser, that right there is a grass runway that's 1,400 feet long. And so, they don't start out on that, but, we're working them toward that. This is a strip over on Camino Island, just a little bit west of Stanwood. Can you see the runway? So it's right there between these two brown fields. There's usually crops in the fields. Sometimes you got to watch your dragging your wingtip through the corn. But pretty narrow, 3,000 feet long, so that's a good length. We have students come to us from other places. They've already got their private certificate and they want to come and get their instrument rating or their commercial, whatever, and they say, I've never been on a grass runway before. So it's an experience. And so most of these flight schools, you can't get insurance. Their insurance policy won't let them operate on a grass runway. And so this is over on Camino Island. And can you see the runway? This is actually a paved runway. It's about 1,700 feet long, 40 feet wide, but it's 150 feet above the water there. So you've got that drop off that it's not a sheer cliff, but it's pretty steep. And then there's trees really close to the runway on that side. You can see the shadows almost touching the runway. And so I call this a distraction airstrip. They're all distracted by the cliff or the trees or whatever. It's like trying to train them not to be upset or lose your concentration on flying the pattern. You got to be on your airspeed, on your power set, on your airspeed, going to your touchdown point, and not be distracted by the distractions. So we've got lots of good airstrips around in this area for training. Where am I here? Oh yeah, Whidbey Air Park. We call this a shoebox. It's surrounded by trees, and you could fly a mile off to the side of the runway at a couple thousand feet. You wouldn't even see the runway because it's hidden by the trees. So think of a shoebox, and then down in there, and that's 2,500 foot. This is paved. It's interesting. It's only 25 feet wide, and that's kind of unusual. So, teaching your student that you've got to keep the airplane running down the center line, the 150-foot wide runway at Payne Field, that some are training on, this is a whole different ballgame. So, this is a strip just a few miles, about 15 miles south of Arlington. Right there, Heineck Farm. Guys wanted us to, we went and met them, and Vic, the airline captain, lives close. And we went and talked to these guys, and they go, yeah, we'd love to have you come in. And so they're mowing the strip and encourage us to come in. Well, this is another distraction strip. You got trees right here, straight out on final approach. You got these tall trees, so don't be distracted by the trees. You can go around a little bit, maybe go through there, and then line up on the runway. Just have to not be distracted by the stuff. Okay, Darrington. I'm going to go a little faster here. If you're taking off that runway at Darrington, you're looking right at that hillside there. It's a distraction. So, a little closer. So here, suppose you're about to land on runway 10, and you have to go around. Something's not right, and you're going to climb toward that mountain. This is concrete. It's another one where you're up above the, see the river there, and then this is up on a little plateau above the river, and so it's a distraction. So concentrate on the runway. So Skykomish. So think about this picture here. That's 2,100 feet long, 100 feet wide. So think about that. The blue thing there marks the runway. Just think about that then compared to that. So let's go a little faster and funnier here. Where's the airstrip there? Oh, right there. Trees, got to get over the trees. So this is the kind of strips we were flying into in the Philippines. So we call it a one-way in, one-way out, and there's no go-around. When you get down on final, you're not going to be able to out-climb the mountain. There's the strip there. So you got to train guys not to be distracted by all the stuff. That's what it looks like on the ground there, to give you an idea how steep that strip is. So basically, you just need special training to do this. You know, again, think about that, the runway at Payne. So I want to talk a little bit about our Alaska ministries. In the summer, we go and fly for Bible camps. Our senior students, the guys that have their commercial certificate, and they can go and fly for these Bible camps that need air transportation. In the wintertime, we send guys to Alaska to do maintenance on some planes up there and help the ministries up there. So this is Keiko Retreat Center. It's a Bible camp. You can see there's an 80-mile ring and a 160-mile ring, and you can see all the villages in black there that can be reached. And we've flown to a lot of those villages and carried kids into Keiko for Bible camp. So here's a little summer ministry. So those of you who see Vitaly, they're all suited up and looking very dapper. And you saw what he looked like after a month up in the Alaska wilds, the bush pilot Vitaly with his lumberjack beard or whatever there. So there's Jeremy Kroll back toward the tail there flying. So it's not just Keiko. There's other Bible camps up there. This is some of our guys that go up and help maintain their airplane and just work on their hangar during the winter time so that they can fly the kids in the summer. And there's Jeremy with some of the kids. This is an interesting slide. So Josh Fish did training. He's a pilot up there. He trained with us at MATA. The couple in the middle, they're at MATA right now training. So some of you probably talked to Zach and Katie yesterday. Zach's just about finishing up his private certificate requirements. Should be having his check right here pretty soon. This is Tenalian Bible Camp and Leadership Center. You can see the different villages that they bring kids in from. So you saw that the Keiko guys, Vitaly's flying out in this area. And so these guys are down here, just other villages that need air transportation. The Tenalian Leadership Center, interesting. Back up the truck here. The Galhan end, Hope Swanson, she was a counselor there. She came and trained with us at MATA. She wanted to be able to take the plane in, so she counseled these girls for a couple of months or however long that course is. And she wants to be able to go out to the villages and keep in contact with these girls that she's counseled, and so that's why she came down and got her pilot certificate with us. Talked about Matt and Abby. We trained Abby and Matt, and they took one of our planes, so I get to hear from them.
Hi, I'm Abby McWard. I'm the flight instructor here at Canadian.
I think next we're going to have. So we're going to have here's another Bible camp that's asked us for help. Cochrane. We've not flown at Cochrane Hills. It's over by, I'll say by Fairbanks, but you can see again a whole different area. So Vitali was flying out in this area, and the Tenali, and you could see all those villages down here, and now here we are way up here. So there's Fairbanks, about and there's Anchorage. So you can see where Cochrane Hills is, and they need help in the summer. So we haven't flown for them yet, but that might be happening. The winter ministry, again, is going up and helping do maintenance. This was at Naknek with Jeremy Kroll's ministry up there. He was pastor and pilot, and helping them maintenance on the airplanes and inspections. I'll just talk about just getting up there real quick. This is it's an experience just to take the pilots to Alaska to do it. So we normally kind of go up through British Columbia and Yukon Territory instead of going up the coast. It would be shorter to go up the coast, but this area here, there's glaciers right down to the water, and it's almost its own little weather system, because of the glaciers and the cold air. So it can be really cloudy and foggy and stuff, and sometimes it's just not very hospitable terrain along the coast there. So a lot safer to kind of go up. I'll kind of take you through this. We start out at Arlington. You got to do some customs paperwork and filing. Tell them you're departing the U.S., what time you're going to cross the border, where you're going to cross the border. It's really kind of difficult with the U.S. Canadian customs really easy. You call them and tell them, your passport number and all this stuff. So we're starting out there at Arlington, land at Abbotsford right across the border, do customs there, and move on. So from Abbotsford to Prince George, 400 miles, 3 hours. Got to refuel there. And then we jump into what's called the trench. It's a big gash in the Canadian Rockies. It runs all the way down. You can see kind of there. And so we jump in the trench there. Actually, Prince George, there refuel. Go up to Mackenzie. There's that next white dot, and then jump in the trench. And we come out of the trench up by Watson Lake. So that's a 500-mile, 3 hour plus. We go to Whitehorse. And RONs remain overnight. You got to fuel up and remain overnight, and then the next day continue on. You got to do customs at Northway. So there, when you're at Whitehorse, it's kind of a drill on the ground. You have to file this thing on the computer, tell the U.S. you're coming back into Alaska, what time you're crossing the border, where, and they want you to be within 15 minutes. And anyway, it's just it's a real exercise, and so it's a bummer. They used to have fuel there and lodging in a restaurant. They don't have that anymore, so you do the border customs thing, and then you have to jump in the plane again and fly for another 20 minutes to get up there and get gas at Tok. And then from Tok to Wasilla, and another 254 miles. And that's where Scott Quist, our director, chairman of the board, lives, and we stay overnight usually at his place. And remember Sarah Palin seeing, she's from Wasilla, and she said you could see Russia from her backyard. A little bit of an exaggeration, because Russia's up there, but anyway, yeah. Right there. So, yeah, in Wasilla. So, and then to Antioch, got to stop there and refuel, and then on to the Keiko Retreat Center. So the whole thing, 2,280 miles roughly, and 16 and a half hours in the air. Takes about 45 minutes every time you stop to refuel, and then like a couple overnights. So it's quite a deal to get up there, and that's provided the weather's good and all that. So, so again, there's Clean Cut Vitaly on the left, and then Alaska Bush Pilot Vitaly. This is what it looks like going up through British Columbia. So you've flown for hours and hours and hours, seeing lots of mountains. So I won't bore you. This is kind of interesting. You got the road there. We try to keep close enough to the road that if you have an engine problem, that that's your emergency landing strip, is the Alcan Highway, and so we don't stay exactly over it, but try to stay within gliding distance. More mountains. I had to take a picture of this one. That peak there is, I'd never seen this before. Usually the clouds are down here somewhere, and you're flying under the clouds. And I saw that for the first time. It's a 16,000-foot mountain. I go, man, I got to get that one. So. So you see scenes like that all the way up to Alaska, and scenes like this when you stop to refuel. $479. So there's the tally back from the trip. Oh, this is going to be kind of a wrap up for the year. want to talk here just for a minute about the summer camp. So you've got an idea that we do a summer camp. It's the last week of July, and for high schoolers, 14 to 18-year-old, and we take 18 campers. The applications are online now, and I think we've had 2 or 3 already confirmed, but it fills up pretty quickly, and we've had several from First Baptist do our summer camps. Anyway, do a short video here and see if we have time for some question and answer at the end.
To apply for Mission Aviation Summer Camp. This life-changing experience will show how you can become a useful tool in the hand of God.
Okay, so you may recognize some of these, some pilots we've trained. The church supports Harlan and Josie Lloyd, and Melody. Melody grew up in the church here, did her training with us, and I've actually got a short, about 2-minute video. Melody sending her update from Palau.
Hi, this is Melody Coleman, serving with the
So I lied. It's 10:03. We got a big MATA contingent here, so the people that need coffee, want them to be able to go get coffee. And just if you have questions, just grab one of the MATA folks here, and they'll be happy to answer your questions. And so I think we'll wrap it that way, Alex, right, and let people go do coffee. 10:03. But Alex said leave time for questions, so here we are. Come and question us. And thanks again for everybody who came out yesterday to the hangar at the open house. It was a good turnout.